I can't believe I haven't answered this question yet, but looking back, I haven't. I'm so sorry. So there is a 30 amp draw through your fuel injection control module when it's cold. This is the reason why the only time you can test a FICM to verify its health is when it's cold. If you test it when it's hot, when it's at operating temperature or whatever, or even anything in the stratosphere of operating temperature, you're going to get a false result of a false sense of good. So if your FICM is falling to 45 volts, anything less than 46, actually, we would say, so even at 45.5, you've got a FICM problem. So if you ever see 45.5 or lower, you've got a FICM problem. It's getting ready to leave the chat. The only question at that point is why. The reason why it recovers, the reason why everything's copacetic and wonderful, and now you're doing 47, 48, 49 volts when it warms up, or in your case 46 or 47, is because the amp draw is no longer there. So think of voltage like pressure, like just pushing, and think of amperage like flow, like, how many lanes are there on the freeway? And so when you've got 12 lanes across on a freeway, it's way more difficult to put any pressure behind that. It's just like when you put your thumb on the end of a garden hose and the water spits out further, the Bernoulli principle. Very, very similar. But upshot is, yes, your FICM is leaving the chat, and the only question at this point is why and how much longer you have until it just leaves you on the side of the road someplace with a no start. FICMs very rarely die while driving. It does happen, but it's very, very rare. Also overstated is, this whole concept of you're going to kill some injectors this way. Yeah, it's not the best, but, they very rarely do die as a result of this. But is this something that you want to get resolved? It totally is. And is it costing you fuel economy even right now? The answer is yes. So when you're not signaling out to the injectors correctly, you're not getting the proper atomization of fuel and everything else. You're not getting the efficient burn that you should be getting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yes, it makes sense to resolve this. As far as why you're having this problem, not to beat a dead horse, but just to tell you the way the world works, inadequate supply side voltage kills FICM. So test your batteries. 800 cold cranking amps is what they absolutely minimally have to test out at in a cold climate, or if you're in a warm climate, it's 700 cold cranking amps. And then your alternator, ideally you just get a bigger alternator, because even in the southern climate, the smallest you want is one that does like 130-ish or so amps at cold idle. And in the northern climate, probably 180, 190 amps at cold idle would be the bare minimum because of the glow plug draw. So most FICMs die death by 1,000 cuts. Sounds like yours is there. I'm so sorry. Conveniently, I know a guy. So ship your FICM on over to us at FICMRepair.com. We can get that thing resolved. Whether it's a power board issue, a logic board issue, or both, probably is both, very frankly. Fewer and fewer people are having any kind of elongated success with prolonged success with just swapping out a power board, even though there are cases where that has worked for folks. But as these things get older, the electronics on the logic board are carrying a more and more significant part in the demise of power board components. So they're a linked set, they're a matched set. Conveniently, we work on both sides. We really don't care, and we can get you going again. So I hope this helps. If you got other questions, we got answers. FICMRepair.com. We're all in this together. Thanks.